Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today I will present about my proposal, Research Methodology of Counseling, ABA 3323. My title of proposal is The Relationship of Trauma on Housebreaking's Victim and Psychological Wellbeing among University Science Islam Malaysia student, USIM. So before that, I will introduce my name. My name is Amirul Irfan bin Marzuki, 1171041. Research background. According to Samantha K. Brooks, Rebecca Dunn, H.S. Emlet, 2019, trauma-exposed communities are often a topic of scholarly discussion, particularly in recent years, following the rise of transnational terrorism. With much individually based study, less attention has been paid to the community level, neglecting that many individuals undergo trauma together. Individuals are usually relocated to mitigate the impact of stressful and traumatic events. Although displacement and relocation offer an immediate escape from the source of trauma, they pose new problems at the same time as change in home, school, and parental job disrupt the social setting. This problem and challenges could lead to more mental illnesses. Problem statement. Nowadays, trauma is not a strange thing in today's society. Many people experience intense feelings of anxiety, sorrow, remorse, rage, or grief in the first day and weeks following a traumatic incident. Such emotions generally tend to subside as they begin to make sense of what has happened to them. Through the help of family and friends, most people will recover relatively easily. This has been proved by Dr. Hazli said in Berita Harian that a study in several Western countries found that 27 to 39% of suicide cases occur within 6 weeks due to disaster or trauma suffered by the victim. Research question. First is, what is the effect of trauma on the victim of housebreaking among USIM students? Number 2, what the level of psychological well-being of the victim of housebreaking among USIM students? Number 3, what is the relationship between the effect of trauma and psychological well-being of the victims housebreaking among USIM students? So we go to the research objective. There are 3 research objectives. First, to study the effect of trauma on the victim of housebreaking among USIM students. Number 2, to investigate the level of psychological well-being the victim of the housebreaking among USIM students. And the last one, to study the relationship between the effect of trauma and psychological well-being of the victims housebreaking among USIM students. Significance of study. First, to the student, the result of the study can help the USIM student to understand and increase their knowledge about psychological well-being. There are many ways for an individual to cope with their trauma, and take care of psychological well-being is one of the ways that play a significant role in helping students to handle their trauma when this incident occurs. Number 2, counselor and lecturer. For the lecturer, the result of the study will help them to be more aware of their students' condition psychologically. Thus, will provide the lecturer a basic knowledge on how to help their students to cope with trauma and take care about the psychological well-being of the student if the incidents occur toward them. For counselors, this study will help to provide new knowledge on trauma and psychological well-being. Students often visit and have counseling sessions to share about their issue and stress. Number 3 is the university. The study is expected to provide a brief view and guide to the university in providing the student better access in applying and take care of their psychological well-being. USIM, University Science Islam Malaysia, is a university that believes both the knowledge of Akli and Nakli need to be integrated in order to produce a well-balanced human being in terms of intellectual and spiritual. So, we continue to the definition of concept. First, we go to trauma. Trauma, according to My Health Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia, trauma can be defined as terrible experience, pain caused by injury, emotional shock. In other words, trauma also can be defined as psychological, emotional response to an event or an experience that is deeply distressing or disturbing. Definition well-being. Definition psychological well-being. Psychological well-being is generally defined as a mixture of positive affective states such as satisfaction and functioning with optimum effectiveness in a person and social life. So, we will continue about the previous study. First, we go to the uh, previous study from Ayes, Thomas and Pamela, 2014. The title is Examining the Influence of Family Cohesion and Adaptability on Trauma, Symptom, and Psychological Well-being. The cohesion between families gives the positive well-being of a person. This has been proved that the family with high cohesion have the low trauma, which is it can be described with the positive well-being. This result of this study was in line with the previous literature. This can be supported by the finding that the college students with negative well-being have experience with the low cohesion between families members. The objective of this study is to be examining the influence of family cohesion and adaptability on trauma symptoms and psychological well-being. The sample of this study are 189 undergraduate students. Previous study number 2 from Lin and Tamra, 2017, Rebuilding Life, Psychological Trauma and Growth in the Aftermath of a Catastrophic Australian Bushfire. The trauma patient has experienced the sensory overload, which are they can imagine the scene such as the sound, smell and temperature at the scene. The helpless feel when some of the trauma individuals cannot save the other family members, the feel of petrol, the guilty or inability to manage their feeling, the feel of loneliness and invalidate and disconnection with past self. There are many experiences that the traumatic person has to face. This study was run on 6 individuals, which is 3 couples, aged between 49 and 55 years, and were comprised of 3 men. So the theory in this proposal is CBT, Cognitive Behavior Theory. CBT was pioneered by Aaron T. Beck in 1960s and has been through an integration of behavior. The term behavior modification. Common features of CBT procedures are the focus on the here and now, session and path, and on elevating both symptom and patient vulnerability. CBT approaches are rooted in the fundamental principle that an individual's cognition plays a significant and primary role in the development and maintenance of emotional and behavioral responses to life situations. In CBT model, cognitive processes in the form of meanings, judgment, appraisals, and assumption associated with specific life event are the primary determinant of one's feeling and action in response to life event, thus either facilitate or hinder the process of adaptation. So we will go to trauma and psychological well-being in Islamic perspective. Islam is a religion that complements humans' aspect of life fully, from the aspect of physical, intellectual, spiritual, emotional action. Islam covers every aspect of human being, and so does the aspect of trial and difficulty that are faced by every human being. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has stated in the Noble Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 155, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. Meaning, be sure we will test you with something of fear and hunger, some loss in good and life, but give glad tidings to those who are steadfast, who say when afflicted with calamity, to God we belong, and to Him is our return. There are those on whom descend blessing from God and mercy, and they are the one that receive guidance. Islam also provides variety of methods on what can be done in order to take care of our physical, psychological well-being and avoid from being trauma. As example, in the Noble Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 45, meaning, and seek help in passion and prayer, and truly it is extremely heavy and hard except for those who obey Allah with full submission, fear much from His punishment, and believe in His promise and His warning. In this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala encouraged humans to seek help through passion and prayer during hard time. Research design. In this study, the researcher used quantitative method in general, t-test and correlational study, particularly in collecting data. The data will collect by using survey method. The study will use review, descriptive, and the correlational design. Data collection. A design will be used for this research to associate the dependent and the independent variable or factors related predictions. The questionnaire will be distributed manually to the respondent and also through the Google form. The researcher must use Google form because at the time the study was conducted, there was a COVID-19 pandemic and it has made it difficult for researchers to get respondents. The informed consent and the nature of the study are attached in the questionnaire. The respondent will given 20 to 30 minutes to complete the questionnaire and they will collect the questionnaire after the respondent have completed. Then using the correlation and statistic, the completed questionnaire will be analyzed. The process to get complete questionnaire was complete within 2 to 3 weeks. Data analysis. Using SPSS 2.5 version will be used to analyze the data. Descriptive analysis is being used to quantitative analyze the data. The descriptive method was used to identify the participant demographic information collected on a demographic scale. The frequency, means, median, and mode will be used to analyze the data in order to see the data is good and valid enough to be used in this research. The screening, cleaning data, and normality test will be used. The person correlation will be used in order to investigate the relationship in these two variables. Next, the level of psychology. Next, the level of well-being will be compared between two groups, which are the person that have been housebreaking and the person who have never been housebreaking. In this case, t-test will be used to compare the mean of this group. Instrument. First instrument, we will use trauma symptom checklist 40. Trauma symptom checklist 40 instrument is consists 40 items that's suitable to measure the post-traumatic stress as well as other symptoms that have some traumatized individual. The respondent need to answer the item by rating how often they have feeling or experience each symptom in last 2 months. This instrument is the rating scale instrument that using 4-point frequencies, which is from 0, never, to 3, often. There is a subscale which are anxiety, depression, dissociation, sexual abuse, trauma index, sexual problem, and sleep disturbance. The total score of this instrument is from 1 to 40. The second one is psychological well-being. The psychological well-being scale that consists of 42 items. This instrument is the Likert scale, which consists of 7 scales. The 7 scales are strongly agree, somewhat agree, a little agree, neither agree nor disagree, a little disagree, somewhat disagree, and strongly disagree. There are 6 subscales, which is self-acceptance, positive relation with others, autonomy, environmental mastery, purpose in life, and personal growth. So that's all from me for our presentation about my proposal. Thank you.